Welcome everybody. We are here for this new meeting with VIP, Very International Pitches. This is the space in Segni in Onda, in this digital space of Segni New Generation Festival 16th edition, in which we challenge the internationalization of projects. And we try to find new ideas, new format, or even new questions to solve in the future. Today, we invited Henrik Kohler, that is the CEO of Theater Centrum from Denmark, and we are asking him to tell us something about their strategy of internationalization. So how they built international strategies, because we know that Theater Centrum is working hardly on it, both with April Festival programming and also with specific projects. So thank you, Henrik, for being with us today. He is now in Mantova with me, but of course we are recording so that everybody can listen to us when you have time and when you wish. So thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to talk a little about what we are doing. I think I'm not quite sure if everybody knows us and know our organization. So I think I better start just putting a little bit of context of why we need an international strategy as an organization. We are what we call a national competence center of dissemination of theater for young audiences, which means that we are actually part of the cultural ministry in Denmark, a self-governing organization though, but still paid by the ministry to ensure that children in Denmark get the opportunity to meet theater in their lives. So that's a basic idea of why we exist. And we have a strategy for that. Of course, we have a national strategy for that. We are doing the April Festival once a year, which is a touring festival. It takes place in a new place in Denmark every year. And that's a huge showcase for all Danish companies to show their work to schools, to libraries, to kindergartens, to whoever in the whole country of Denmark who needs to have itinerant theater, I mean touring theater out during the year to come. So in that case, in the national context, the April Festival is very important. But why do we have an international strategy as well? Well, you can say that, first of all, we find it very natural to have an international strategy, although our tasks basically or mainly is nationally based. We still have a huge cooperation with the rest of the world when it comes to how to produce and how to disseminate theater for young audiences. So in that sense, we have a huge interest to both to bring the whole world into us and to bring us out to the rest of the world. So in that sense, it's natural for us. And besides that, the strategy, it's approved by the ministry, and they actually ask us to do international collaborations as well, because we have in Denmark what we call the International Cultural Panel, which is a cooperation between the Ministry of Culture, the Ministry of Commerce, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And they do cultural projects all over the world, and we are one of the operational partners for them. So that's the official reason for us to do international collaborations as well, and the reason that they asked us to do an international strategy. So we did that. So maybe I can tell you a little about what the content of this strategy, because of course the strategy goes on more than one level. There's one level that's about bringing Danish theater out into the world. That's one of the tasks that we have been given, to ensure that Danish companies producing theater and art for children, that they have an opportunity to be seen in the rest of the world. So that's one of the legs in the April Festival, that we ensure to invite a lot of international promoters and presenters to see Danish shows in the showcase. And it's very obvious for us because we have more than 180 shows collected in 1 week. So it's a very good opportunity to come and see actually what's going on in Denmark artistically and what kind of shows do we have to present. So that's one of our tasks and one of the bullets in the strategy to ensure that Danish companies will be seen around in the world. And we have been doing this for many years. I mean, we started that work in 1990. And since that time, that's more than 30 years, we have, normally we say that approximately 2 shows play every day outside Denmark somewhere in the world. 2 shows a day throughout the whole year. And when we say outside Denmark, we literally mean outside Denmark because the companies are literally touring in all continents, not only in Europe, but all over.
Sorry, I have a question. How do you map this? Or
we ask every year, we ask the companies to give us information. So we collect for the statistics, we collect from every company numbers of touring shows and where they went and how many shows they did. So every year we can make that statistic. And we are even going to approve that statistic in the future, because until now it's been for our own sake in the community. But from now on, we will also give this information to the national statistics. So it'll be visible for the whole arts world, or actually for the whole for Denmark, that we have this activity. So that's one very important part of our strategy. And alongside with that goes, of course, also the idea of bringing out the basic idea of our view on children in Denmark, and bring that out with the shows and bring that out to the rest of the world as well. As you maybe know, the Denmark and the Scandinavian countries are well known for having a very direct approach to children, in the sense that we look upon, I usually say that we look upon children as beings and not becomings, meaning that when we provide art for the children, it's not for educational reasons. It could be as well, of course, educational for them, but it's not the reason for us to bring it out. We bring it out exactly for the same reason that adult needs art in their life, in their lives, because art is an important part of your being as a human in the world. And that's this view on children is based in everything we do in Denmark and in the Scandinavian countries, in the whole educational system, in the approach during what they do in their spare time, and so on and so forth. And that whole idea is also behind the way that we produce theater for young audiences in Denmark, meaning that all the shows are produced as art, mainly as art and not as educational tools. So that whole idea and that whole philosophy around that is also one of the tasks that we want to ensure that we can discuss with the rest of the world, not only in the artistic world in the rest of the world, but also in the educational and pedagogical part of the world. So in our strategy, we have one dot saying that we are supposed to give lectures, give ideas, spread out thoughts, and concrete examples of how we work with that in Denmark. So besides bringing out the shows to the rest of the world, we therefore also bring out people who can talk about this in different ways. So when we start collaborations with with other, it could be other organizations, or it could be artists, or it could be officials in different places of the world. We ensure that there's an element of this talk about the rights of children to have art in their lives. That should be a part of the project somehow, because that's what we believe that we can bring into the discussion based on the experience we have on that.
Yes, this is really interesting. That means not only the opera or a single artist, but the artist is meaningful to spread the Danish approach and point of view and gaze on children and new generation. One thing that it's maybe a question is how do you do it? I mean, are you spreading with by chance, or just or there is a strategy? You know, when you speak about internationalization, I always have the map, the globe, and on my I see the picture of the globe, the planisphere, and it sounds always just a little bit like risiko. Oh, that means go to this country, then this other one, and put flags on. How does it function?
I mean, it functions in that way that a lot of this is based on personal contacts. It's relations. And that's where the April Festival is a key point, of course, because the April Festival is, we think of the April Festival as a hub, international hub, where we bring people together and where people can create relations. And a lot of the touring and a lot of the activities is based on these relations made on April Festival. And of course, when you do that, it's like a spider net, it spreads more and more. So that's one thing that we are working on. That's why it's important for us to make international activities at the festival and to bring people to the April Festival, because besides seeing shows, they also network and meet people and meet artists. And we always encourage our Danish artists to take part in the international program, although they are very busy about doing their shows. We think it's very important for them to meet the international delegates to create relations. So that's one thing we are doing. Another thing we are doing is that when people are going out, artists are going out, whenever it's possible, we try to help them to bring out more than the shows when they go out, to help them to create workshops, to create materials about what they are doing, and to create conversations where they are going about with other artists about how they are working. So that's one part of the way we are working. The other part is when we are doing specific projects with specific targets. Some of these targets are decided by the IKP, the International Cultural Panel, because they always have in their strategy, they have some areas of interests. And it could be like China. We have worked a lot with China, and it started because the IKP actually had it as an area of interest. So there was a Danish season in China where we were invited as operational to operate as a partner in that project. So we went there they had the strategy, we had actually the activities. So that's one of the ways that we very often work. Another year we went to Korea with shows and workshops because the Danish royal family were going there for official visits, and they asked us to make a program about art for children, so we could provide some shows and some workshops for that. So that's another way of finding projects that we are simply asked by the government to do specific activities in specific places. And then, of course, the rest is based on our own choices, what we think is important, areas that we can, based on relations, based on the projects that we have. We are always looking for partners and people who are interested in the same topics as we are. In that way, we started the team project together with you some years ago. It's a long time ago, 5, 6 years ago. And that started out of our relation and our talks about what is our common interests. And that from there, we developed the projects. And then, of course, another thing that's also is important for us is that we host the international office of AGTES in our office in Copenhagen. So they are in Teater Centrum's office, which means that we are very close connected to the talks and the strategies of AGTES International. So wherever we can see that we can provide with something, we will try to do that as well.
In fact, I think that one of the most interesting part of this strategy is the connection that you have with the political level. This agreement, let's say, or working together in connection with the political strategies, that is something that is not so common, I think, in the world. And even the connection not only with the cultural sector, but with this relevant part of the cultural sector, because I believe that this reflects very well the position of childhood in your society. That is a kind of identity statement as a culture. And the strategy reflects really this approach. Which are the countries that are on your national strategies in the moment, which are a part of of course, what comes out from the informal and not structured networking?
Yeah, I will answer that question. I'll just go back to that thing that we are part of that national strategy. And it's true, it's because of the view of children in Denmark, but it didn't come by itself. It came by hard work from the community of artists working with theater for children throughout a lot of years, improving or showing that what they did was of importance. So now everybody in the government knows that one of the highlights of the Danish cultural life is actually theater for young audiences. So that's why they very often these days bring it up front when they want to brag about what we can do in Denmark. So that's one of the positions that we have really worked hard to reach to and to get to. So being an operational partner for the ministries these days is a result of many years of hard work with that, and showing that we can do it, and showing that it's important, showing that we can tour the world. And when we look upon the rest of the cultural life in Denmark, they look on us with envy, because we are actually working internationally and they want to do it. So they ask us how we can, with our network, help them to reach out in the same way that we are doing. But I think one of the reasons that we can do it is because we always bring this leg of a philosophical idea with us when we go. It's not only a question about art, it's also a question about art. And the strategy is also about bringing artists together in the whole world. Don't forget that, that's very important. But we have this extra layer that we can put in the strategy, which is about children and giving them a chance to have art in their life. So I'll go back to your question. Which are the countries that we are working with? I mean, for us, it sometimes seems very random what kind of countries they choose in the government to be focus countries. I mean, sometimes we are saying, well, where did that come from? They ask us actually, when they're doing the strategy, they are doing 4-year strategies. Every 4 years they do a new strategy. And actually they ask us before they do it, if we have any areas of interest that they could put into the strategy, if we have any projects which could be of interest, or so in that sense we can actually have an influence of what they do. But at the same time, there's a lot of other elements that decides what which countries. And at the moment, the countries are still China, Korea, and Japan, which has been in the strategy for a while now. But now they put in India as well, so we have to start working with India somehow, and we have to figure out how we can do that. And then we have had a focus on North America for a while. They had that in the last strategy. So we have been working with the IPay in North America about bringing some of our activities over there. And then we have a focus point on our close neighbors. So we have been working closely with Germany for the last 2.5 years, because that's part of the strategy as well, because we had a common celebration. Denmark, Germany had a common celebration. That's why of 100 years of, a political situation. And that's why that was in the strategy. So we were urged to do projects in Germany, and we are still doing that for a while. So these are the countries that we're working with right now in that strategy. But we've been working with France before. We have been working with South Africa before. We have been working with Jordan and some of the Middle East countries as a result of that governmental strategy.
Very well. It's really inspiring and give us a model. I have the feeling I would run to the mayor of my city to apply the same model, maybe at local level, because I think that maybe we can start to experiment or start a discussion at local level, because this fits also to the local level. For example, in my experience, what I have been observing, that is a kind of alliance like this one. It's what happened in Milano city, where they have been working together with tourism and culture to reinforce the image of La Scala Teatro di Milano, and that brought a lot of tourism, but also changed the position of the culture in Milano city according with this part of the culture. Then it's true that we have been speaking also already about that in the festival. That is that it's not about tourism, okay? It's about culture. And this is why I believe that this best practice, I will say, this model of functioning, it's something that we need to observe and to find a way to copy as a best practice to spread in the sector, because of course the position of children in society are different in different society. But in Europe, it looks like we will speak about next generation. So maybe we need to be all together and to find models to get inspired, to not to lose this chance of rewrite our model of cooperation together and to make advocacy for our sector, because this is how I see this opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I mean, when you on a national level talk about, I think that you have that in all arts councils around the world, this idea of the importance of bringing your art out or invite people in to see what you are doing. But we have this extra layer in what we are doing. Of course, it's very important for artists to meet, but that's in a kind of closed society. When we reach out to the rest of the world, we have this very, very important thing for what we are doing, which are the children, which are the big difference, that we can advocate not only for the art, but also for democratic rights, for the rights of the children, for spreading out the democratic ideas in basic and things like that. That I think in the way what we are working with, we are always bringing out this topic with us wherever we go, because the rights of children is wherever you go an interesting topic that's important to have a discussion about. So the necessity of that international cooperation is very huge for our sector, I think.
Exactly. And I will say that this is the perfect closing on this discussion, because we are not working on market approach, but it's really about something else. So I hope that this small discussion and witness can help us to see new models and to fight, because of course we always need to fight, but also to cooperate on a new process between us in the sector, that is the cultural sector with a plus. The cultural sector making advocacy for children rights and culture accessible and for everybody. Thank you, Henrik, for this inspiring moment, and see you by the festival, because by chance you are in Mantova with us. So
Yeah.
let's go to have a coffee together.
We'll go out and grab the moment.
Exactly. And for those who are listening us, I see you somewhere else in other festival working together. Ciao.